Hi, today I'm going to be wrapping this oval-shaped large Orthoceras fossil, and we're going to be using black wire and silver wire. This one is going to be 16 gauge, and then we're going to use 18 gauge, 22 gauge wire. Let's start by measuring the stone. It measures about 4.5 centimeters lengthwise and about 3 centimeters wide. I want to start by cutting 12 inches of wire, the black wire, all of the wires, 12 inches each. And this is the pattern that we're going to be creating. So I'll start by wrapping a thin gauge wire around the stone so we can measure the circumference of it and know exactly how much weave that we need in order to encircle it. So there we have it, and I'll just snip the wire right there. So I'll start by wrapping the bottom wire 4 times, then moving over all of the wires and wrapping around all of them 3 times. Just trying to make sure they stay close together. And then we're going to start again at the bottom, wrapping around there 3 or 4 times. However many revolutions you do, you just continue that pattern. But me, I think I did 4. So 4 around that one, and then each consecutive wire, we wrap it 4 times. So move on to the next wire here, 4 times, 4 times, 4 times. And this one I wrapped 6 times, and then this one 4 times again. And then just repeat over each wire 3 times. And that's just the pattern we're using. Just continue that pattern until you have enough weave to wrap around the stone like we measured earlier. So once you have your weave done, I want to go ahead and center that around your stone, and we're going to bend the wires around the stone, but it's a bit stiff, so I'm going to just bend it with my hand manually first, just to help it along the way. The thicker gauge wires are kind of hard to bend, especially multiple ones like this, but it makes for a more sturdy piece. So I'm just bending the wires the shape of the stone, not doing anything spectacular off camera. Alright, just bending it with my hand, trying to form the shape of the stone. And we're almost there. Just a bit more manipulating of the wires. We should be good to go. Yeah, I think that's good right there. After bending the wire completely around the stone, this is the shape we have. And it looks pretty good. Alright, so now I'm going to take the first 2 wires, the very first 2, and we're going to separate those from the rest of the wires. Alright, so we have 2 in the front and the rest are still in the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and take all of the wires in the back and try to bend them into the shape of a neck, the neck. So bending all the wires, pinching the wires and bending to shape, which is going to be the bell. What right now is the neck. All right. There we have it. So after pinching the neck closer together, I'll use the excess wire from the weaving and just wrap it a few times around that neck, just to hold all of these thick wires together. I think it's just going to be a temporary wrap, but all the same, just wrap it around about 2 or 3 times. Alright. And for these 2 front wires, I'm going to take the needle nose pliers right there at the intersection. Just get the pliers in there and give it a squeeze, and it should straighten those wires right up. There we go. Now I'm going to wrap the neck here. And I was going to use silver, but I decided to use black 22 gauge wire as the contrasting wire for the neck. And I'll just wrap it around both wires about 6 times. Just basic wrap around. Then wrap 2 times around each wire. Then I cut about 9 centimeters of wire to wrap around that neck to remove that temporary wrap that we did earlier. Next, I'll take the wires in the back and just start bending them backwards over toward the back of the frame. I think I want to have 3 of those wires going down to help secure the stone. And I'm going to take this wire and just put it through there, each of the wires, and put them through. Let's see how the stone looks. Now I'll take 2 of the longer wires, 1 silver, 1 black, and hold them to the neck, and I'll snip these other wires here. These 4 wires, we could just get rid of those. Generally, I'll use these to shape the bill, but I'm going to use my hand because it's very thick wire. So I'm just going to bend the wires with my fingers. Since it's so stiff, just bending over. There we go. So now I'll take the tail of the black weave wire here and just wrap it around the entire frame here at the top to close in that bail. Alright, and then I'm going to finish up by wrapping the weave wire around this long wire here to finish it, and tuck it and press it in flat after we snip it. So that ought to do it. And let's grab our cutters and snip away this long wire. Press it flat. No sharp edges. So as I put the stone back inside, try to fit it securely to the frame. Notice this long wire here. I'm going to bend it forward on top of the stone because it's the thicker 14 gauge wire and it needs a little bit more help to stay securely within the frame. So I'm just going to bend this forward over the top here, and I'm going to snip and then just curve that piece. So turn the piece to the back, and this long wire here, I'm going to connect it to the frame around here somewhere. This one down here, and this one is already in the front. This one I'll connect down here. And just go ahead and snip off the wires accordingly. Gotta leave enough room so I can make a loop on the end of these wires. So I'm leaving that little space there. Alright, so now I take the round nose pliers here and then make that little curved loop on the end on one side there, and just do the same for each of the other snipped wires. And one more here. All right. So I found that the stone still was a bit wobbly inside, so I secured wire to this big 14 gauge wire as an anchor, and it helped it feel more secure. So now I'll just take that wire here and slip it right through this little loop and connect it to one of the framed wires and pull it through to the front like that, and just take it back around the back through that wire frame and pull it on through back to the back. All right, and I will just snip that piece there, and I'll just go ahead and do the same or something similar for each of the following looped sides in order to secure that wire to the back of the frame like I did the first piece. So I ended up twisting the wire around this loop here, and then I'm going to bring the wire and put it through that loop. There we go. And wrap it around this frame wire. We'll put it through that frame wire, just like you see here, and bring it to the back. Bend that wire over, and I'll just snip that piece off like that, and I'll just flatten this little piece so it won't have any sharp ends. Just tuck it in and flatten it. Alright, just for aesthetics, just make it look the same on both sides. And of course I have to finish with this wire as well. So I will just cut this piece right here. Just leave just a little tail so I can just curve it over to have it sort of like a tuck, and press against the stone to help secure it in the frame on the front. Just use the round nose pliers to give it a little curve, a little bend. And I'll just manipulate it a little bit until I get it situated where I want it and where I think is good. So there we have it. Thank you for tuning in and following along. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Come back and see me again soon. Bye-bye for now.